Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has filed a lawsuit against the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and 9 other former governors in the 10th Senate, one of them being a minister, Dave Umahi, allegedly collecting both salaries and pensions as senators and ministers. In a statement by the SERAP Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, SERAP says that he has joined as respondents in the suit filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Abdulaziz Yari of Zamfara, Aminu Tambo of Sokoto, Adamu Alero, Adams Oshomole, Ibrahim Gaydam, Seriake Dixon, Ibrahim Donkwambo, Aliyu Wamako, Benga Daniel, and Dave Umahi. Mr. Olukayode Oluwadare, Deputy Director at SERAP, joins me live from our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwadare, for your time tonight. And let me begin. Someone like Benga Daniel has said and come out that he has told them that they should stop any form of pension or money accrued to him, or a monument accrued to him from the government because he's now a senator. Have you considered or found out what the status is from other ones? Because in your suit, you're asking them to declare. That is what you have said. Give us more details on your lawsuit.
Thank you very much, Shewan. Good evening. It's very important to clarify that the suit speaks of 2 things, broad issues. One is asking a question by way of freedom of information. And secondly, it's a request. And these freedom of information requests was served on all the respondents, that those who were formerly governors and who are members of the National Assembly presently in the 10th Senate in Nigeria. Of course, we did not get the responses as prescribed by the Freedom of Information Act, which is why we are in court. So the request was simple, to ask information about if they have collected or perhaps still collecting pension, and then how much they have collected. And then secondly, the request, which is for those who have answered in the affirmative that they have collected or they are still collecting, to stop such payment of pension from their former states, and then to refund that which they've collected. And this is underscored. This is predicated on the provisions of the Constitution, which, of course, negates this practice. That is the Code of Conduct for Public Officers in the 5th schedule, particularly paragraph 2A of the Constitution. That is the basis of this action. And really, this is not the kind of thing, naturally, that should end up as a public interest lawsuit. But unfortunately, this is where we found ourselves as a country with what we've seen as lack of transparency and accountability, and perhaps we can call it some malfeasance in governance.
Would you say it is criminal because you cited a case where you said there was a judge who has said that collecting both pension and salary is illegal and unconstitutional? Is SERAP seeing it from that point of view? Have you been able to find anyone out based on the little information that you have at the moment? Because I see that you filed an order of mandamus compelling these persons to declare and make public what the status of what they are collecting now from either of this, wherever they belong, whether they're former governor or sitting senator or minister.
Yes, Sean. So whether they make those declarations or not, it is still unlawful and unconstitutional and illegal to earn pension as a governor or former governor and as a minister or a member of the National Assembly. That is very clear in the provisions of the Code of Conduct of Public Officers. And don't forget, any action that is contrary to the Code of Conduct for Public Officers, of course, is punishable by a tribunal, by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. It is a crime, and it is something that even the FCC and the ICPs can take up. So whether they make those declarations to the Nigerian public by way of access to information or not, if for a fact that they are earning those pensions, it is unlawful. And that is on one side. We can call that a double emolument, which is something that the Federal High Court Honorable Justice Omotoyibo in November 2019 had already said. But there is another aspect to this, which is the payment of pensions to governors and deputy governors, as it were, whether they are now ministers or not. And that is very important to understand the reading of the Constitution in this instance, and that's section 124, subsection 5 of the Constitution, which even in giving the State House of Assembly powers to make pensions, it couches it with the permissible word, may. It is not shall. So it gives a leeway for members of the State of Assembly to make laws for pensions, and the wording is pension or gratuity. But we should understand that the Constitution is to be read as a whole. So in reading the powers that gave the House of Assembly to make pension laws for governors, deputy governors, that must also be read with other laws, with other provisions of the Constitution, the Code of Conduct for Public Officers, and the oath of office that public officers are taking. So how can we justify this huge payment to just some public officers with the level of poverty in those states, particularly when you understand that most of these states owe pension and backlog arrears of salaries to their staff? And so we cannot marry what we've seen happening, even though those laws have been made, with the realities on ground and the provisions of the Constitution. And that is why it is unlawful and illegal for the payment of pension to a former governor and deputy governor, and then the second aspect of double emolument, earning those pensions while still being a minister or a member of the House of member of the National Assembly.
I've seen SERAP do this several times. So I imagine that when you do it, probably you have your independent research on whatever has happened in the state and cross-check with the National Assembly or the federal government whether or not this is true. But again, the question is, I imagine that you might be able to take further whatever you find, if you find any of these persons wanting. But you mentioned something that is very critical. And in that statement, you said 14 states in Nigeria are presently running the law giving life pensions to former governors. And you gave example of Akwa Ibom life pension. Let me show Nigerians what you captured and what you said an ex-governor from Akwa Ibom, based on the Akwa Ibom life pension law, will earn. It says that annual pay of 200 million naira, 2 official vehicles with chauffeurs, furniture allowance of 300% of basic salary, replaceable every 4 years, an aide, a cook, lifetime security guards worth 5 million monthly, 2.5 million for their deputies, state-sponsored annual medical service of about 100 million for ex-governors and their spouses, 50 million for their ex-deputy governors, 5-bedroom mansions in Abuja and Akwa Ibom, 300% annual basic salary as severance gratuity, 300% of annual basic salary for car maintenance, 100% of annual basic salary for entertainment, 100% of annual basic salary for utility. Well, Akwa Ibom seems to be like the extraordinary one based on the life pension law in that state. Abia State has its own. Gombe State has its own. If you look at Abia State, 100% of the salary of the incumbent, an official car, a police orderly, 2 operatives of 2 policemen for the security of his house, allowances for cooks, stewards, driver, and gardener. In Gombe State, entitlement include 300 million executive pension benefits for the ex-governor and so many others. Sokoto State has its own and several others. You said 14 of the states in Nigeria are running this kind of laws. And you said that, look, Nigerians cannot afford this based on the poverty level in the land. What more do we know, Mr. Oluwadare?
And really, that is it, Shehu. As you were going through it, it reads like a bad dream. And I would really struggle to see how the courts will not side with Nigerians in this instance, in the face of this huge payment that has been paid since 1999 for some of those states. And it's just a heavy drain, particularly when you look at the poverty level in Nigeria and in the subnationals in the state. It is not only sustainable, it is unlawful. And it is criminal in its intent itself for Nigerian taxpayers and the poor people who bear the brunt of this payment. And that is why it should stop. And we are looking forward to the court deciding in favor of Nigerians in this instance.
But if these laws are already operating in these states, there are laws in these states.
Yes, and there are laws, but law is unchallengeable. And in this context, there are laws made by the State House of Assembly, but there is something called the supremacy of the Constitution, which clearly says that if any law validly made in Nigeria conflicts with any provisions of the Constitution, of course, that law will be inconsistent to the extent that that will be null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. So in this instance, which is why I gave an example of Section 124 sub 5 of the Constitution that allowed States of Assembly to make these laws, that section must be read with other provisions of the Constitution. Section 124 sub 5 could not be intention to allow Nigerians to suffer at the expense of just 36 governors or some members of the National Assembly. That could never have been the intention of the drafters of the Constitution, of the National Assembly that enacted the Constitution. No, that could not be the basis. And I've also pointed out that even the provision in Section 124 it is permissive. It allows the members of the House of Assembly to enact those laws. It did not say shall. And if you look at Section 84, for instance, of the Constitution, that allows the President and Vice President to earn pay, Section 85 rather, you would see that it is shall. But in this instance, it is permissive. And so, why did the State of Assembly speak on these not mandatory provision to make laws that benefit some governors and not do other things that are important in the Constitution? For instance, Chapter 2 of the Constitution that allows Nigerians to have access to free education, free water, security, and all. Why choose the ones that would, of course, selfishly benefit them? And that is why we are challenging these laws in court. And really, it's not about challenging these laws, as it were. The court had made a ruling in 2019 declaring these laws unlawful in the first place. Unfortunately, that law is yet to be enforced. But be that is made, the judgment of court still stands, and it's a valid judgment of court up till today.
All right. Kalawale Oluwadare, Deputy Director with SERAP. Please do let us know as soon as you get in response from the court and you are getting a headway so that Nigerians can have a sense of what their monies are being used for. And I'm hoping that some of these persons might be able to come clean and come to the public and let Nigerians know the real state of things, whether or not there is any kind of double payment. Thank you so much, Kalawale, for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.